Hi there, welcome to my channel. We're gonna kick things off with a series of videos showing you my makeup collection as it is as of April 2023. We're just gonna kind of split things up by categories, and today we're gonna start with complexion products. So we're gonna cover what I have right now for primers, foundations, concealers, and powders. If that sounds like fun to you, stick around so that you can check out what I'm working with and what I'm hoping for from this category of makeup for the next couple months. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Jo and this is Shimmers and Pans, my sparkly corner of the internet where I share my love of all things beauty bringing me joy. So if you want to see more of the daily musings of a makeup lover like me, stay tuned, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you are let know every time that I post a new video. And without further ado, let's get started. So these are the primers that I have in my collection right now. They're all in use. There is one of these I have a backup of, so the backup is in storage. It's not out here, but these are all the primers that I have at the moment. I know that the Hollywood Flawless Filter to some people is not a primer. I use it as a primer. So let's go through it. First off, we have the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. I think that this is supposed to be a dupe of the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer, which I have not tried. I tried this in the hopes that it would be something better to kind of hold on to makeup when it's really hot outside and if I'm sweating a lot. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I feel like I need to try it more to really decide how I feel about it. I did use it last night to do my makeup later in the evening for my travel podcast, and I actually enjoyed how sticky it was and how smooth it made my foundation look, but it's not an absolute love for me. But as you can see, I'm not done using it, so I'm gonna keep trying it. This one I do love. This is the Ole Henriksen Banana Bright Face Primer. I do like the glow that it gives. I really like the finish that it gives to the face. It feels really refreshing. It feels really like morning boosty because it smells like oranges. I really enjoy this one. I really like the finish that it gives. I've used quite a bit of it. I would love to finish it by June, by the end of the academic year. I think I will because I use it, I don't know, at least 3 times a week or so. But I would definitely repurchase this, and it's a primer that I really enjoy. Then we have the e.l.f. Luminous Putty Primer. This one I tried again because I like luminous primers. I feel like my skin sometimes looks kind of dull, so I like to give it a little bit of luminosity through primers. So I decided to try this one. I've used it quite often since I got it. I actually hit pan on it, as you can see. This is probably gonna come with me in the summer when I'm back home and when I'm traveling at the end of the summer. So this is probably gonna be my summer primer, and I expect to get a lot more use out of it. And probably will try the Vitamin C Putty Primer next from this same line. Then we have the Marc Jacobs Undercover Blurring Coconut Face Primer. This is actually the first primer that I ever tried, and as you can see, it is really disgusting because I've had it for a really long time and haven't finished it. It took a while to figure out how much product you need for this because it's coconut oil based, and if you put a lot of it on, it will make your face look like a donut in a bad way. So you just have to use a little bit of product, but when you do, it smooths your skin so well. It really makes it look poreless and plump in the best possible way. So I love it. I have a backup of this. This is the one that I have a backup of. I bought it when everything on the Marc Jacobs website was on sale. Unfortunately, I don't think that you can get this anymore. So I still have the backup. I'm hoping I can finish this by June. Again, it's one of those containers where you can't really see how much you've used, but I've used this a lot. And then to finish up in the primers category, we have the Hollywood Flawless Filter by Charlotte Tilbury. These are mini sizes. These are shades 6.5 deep and 4.5 medium, which is one of the reasons why I like the mini sizes, because then I can buy different shades and use them for different things. So I use it as a primer when I want to give myself like a really nice, luminous, glowy, healthy looking base, like red carpet, perfected skin kind of base, or if I don't want to wear foundation one day but I still want my skin to look good, I'll wear just this. Sometimes I'll wear it with a tinted moisturizer if I want a little bit more coverage, but I absolutely love this product. I'm of the belief that there is no such thing as a dupe for this product. I think that this is like the most perfect makeup product ever made, and I love it. I have repurchased it a couple of times at this point and will continue repurchasing it. As you can see, I've gotten a little bit more use out of the 4.5 than the 6.5 because right now I'm avoiding the sun a lot more here in the Middle East, so I'm using 4.5 more. Here are the foundations that I have in my collection right now. All in use, all liked and enjoyed for very different reasons. Here we have a classic, an icon, a product that stands on its own, that needs no introduction, the Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place Makeup. I use shade 5N Rich Ginger. Quite possibly one of the best shade matches that I've ever gotten for a complexion product. Really love the finish of this. I'm using it as my everyday foundation right now. As you can see, I've gotten quite a lot of use out of it, so I expect to finish this by June. There's little to say other than this will give you a beautiful finish. There's a reason why it's been a bestseller for so many years. There's a reason why it's on so many makeup artists, essentials, foundations, kits. It's a favorite for bridal makeup. This is a beautiful, beautiful product. I bought it a few years ago. I bought it with the Futurist Hydra Rescue, which I finished earlier this year. And this is something that I would definitely repurchase. I won't when I finish it because I have the Pat McGrath foundation waiting for me back home in the US. So it's gonna come with me to the Middle East when I come back in August. So for now, this is what I'm using most days. Then we have the super highly reviewed NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. I use the shade Huahin. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this is the shade that I use. Also a really good shade match for me. I've used a bit of it. I don't use it as often right now because I'm trying to finish the Estee Lauder, but I love the finish of this. It's one of the most natural looking skin-like finishes that I've ever seen. It's going to give you some coverage, but you're definitely going to be able to see the skin underneath. Like, it's not full coverage. I don't really use full coverage foundations. Really enjoy this one. So right now, when I want to break from the Estee Lauder or when I'm recording, this is probably the foundation that I'm going to be using for dates. This is a very good like day or night foundation. No flashback, nothing like that. Stays all day looking fresh. A hit from NARS, but then again, NARS makes complexion products really well, so this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Then we have the NARS Pure Radiant Tinted Moisturizer. I have this in the shade Marrakesh, which is actually a little dark for me, but I bought it when I was living in Hawaii and I was a lot more tan than I am now. So I have to use very little of this, and this is what I've been using with that Hollywood Flawless filter that you saw, the 4.5. I mix these two together and then it gives me a really nice base. This is another product that I feel like it's taken a little bit of time for me to get the hang of. I was using way too much and it was far too emollient for me. Now I use just a hint and it looks much better. I would maybe want to try a different shade, but I think that maybe if it's gonna be a tinted moisturizer, maybe it has to be a little less emollient. But when I finish this, I think I've used quite a bit of it. I'm hoping to finish it by June. I'll probably put it on pause and maybe try a different tinted moisturizer. I'm thinking maybe the Tower 28. Last but not least, in my foundations, we have the Fenty Pro Filter Hydrating Longwear Foundation. This is shade 380. Honestly, I bought it because it was on sale at Sephora. This, again, this is too dark for me right now. I feel like it has quite a bit of a red undertone, and that's very evident when I wear it. So I have to set it with powder. It's also really emollient for me, at least in the dry weather that I live on right now. It gives you a really nice finish, but I need to use it more when I'm a bit more tan, or maybe mix it with a lighter primer or something to maybe work the shade a little bit better for me. We're gonna wrap things up for this video with concealers and powders. This is everything that I have in my collection, including backups. Let's start with powders since it's not a big category in my collection. This is the Sephora Translucent Setting Powder. It is a gigantic jar, in my opinion. Look how big this is. I have used quite a bit of it. It is really mattifying. This is a translucent shade, or universal, they call it. It is really mattifying, so you have to be careful with it. It's also fairly white, so if you're a deeper skin tone like me, you want to be careful to not use too much because it's going to make you look kind of ghostly. But I intend to finish it. Again, it's too mattifying for me, so I don't know that I would repurchase this particular one. I think I prefer slightly more luminous powders. Then we have a mini of the Laura Mercier Translucent Setting Powder. This was on the birthday gift at Sephora for 2022. So this is what I chose with the strapless shadow stick. This is one of those products that you hear people talk about all the time and you wonder, like, is it really that good? Yes, it is. It actually is. This is just a translucent shade. I usually take this to travel, but if I really want a good luminous finish, this is the powder that I'm using right now. As you can see, I've used a bit of it. I think that it's a pretty generous mini, and I am actually really curious to try some of the other iterations of this powder in the Laura Mercier product line, like some of the more luminous ones. Then we have a mini of the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Setting Powder. I love the packaging. It's so cute. It's also so tiny, but you get a good amount of product here. This is the shade Tan, shade 3. I have nothing against minis, really. I bought this because I wanted to try it in my under eyes. I think it works pretty well for the under eyes. I've been using it for a while. I'm using it now in like the greasier parts of my face as well, and it works really well for that purpose. Very good at balancing out setting with maintaining luminosity. I would definitely buy a full size of this. And then we have Zoeva Soft Sun Luminizing Powder. This is the shade Moonlit. I thought that it was gonna be kind of like those hourglass blushes, but it doesn't really give you much in terms of color to the cheeks. It really is a finishing powder. I'm using it more in that capacity because it's not that powdery, so it does give a nice glow to the face. It's not my favorite, but for the purposes of making things a little bit more luminous, it gets the job done, but it's not my favorite. Let's move on to concealers. This is the concealer that I'm using most often. This is like my everyday go to work concealer. This is the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer Satin Finish. I don't know what other finishes there are. This is the shade Tan Sand. When I bought this, I thought that it was gonna be far too pink for me, far too light, but it actually gives me a really nicely brightened under eye, so I really appreciate it for that reason, but you do have to use just a tiny bit of it. It has the biggest doe foot I have ever seen. I don't know who needs a doe foot of that size to apply concealer, but okay, I guess. I would definitely repurchase this. I do have another shade because, again, I bought it to see if it was a good alternative for a drugstore price concealer, and it is. Here's the backup of that Hydrating Camo Concealer, still in the packaging. This is the shade Tan Latte. I don't know if this is gonna be like light enough to be a concealer for me, or if eventually I'm gonna have to use it kind of like concealer as foundation. Excuse my slipper and my big foot. Let's get that out of the frame. So I don't know if I'll be able to use this as a concealer proper because it looks really dark in the tube, but at the same time, I thought that Tan Sand looked too pink in the tube and it looks fine in the skin. So who knows? I hope to get to this soon. Then we have the Clinique Even Better All Over Concealer and Eraser. This is the shade WN94 Deep Neutral. I don't know why more people don't talk about this concealer because I think it's fantastic. It also looks really good as concealer as foundation, which makes me wonder how good the foundation of the same name will be. It's definitely on my radar to try. I'm hoping that it's like nice and light for wearing in very hot climates. I really enjoy this concealer. It is a little dark for my under eyes, so it doesn't give me the most luminous finish in the world, but I really enjoy it. It doesn't feel too drying. It gives good coverage. Really solid product that I think more people need to try. Then we have this guy that I'm pretty sure is discontinued. I bought it because it was on sale at Sephora. I had heard other people review it very highly. This is the Huda Beauty The Overachiever Concealer. Shade is Caramel Corn. I thought that it was gonna be too yellow for me. It's not. It's incredibly precise, high coverage, really smooth under the eyes, doesn't crack, doesn't dry, really, really good. Not really sure why this was discontinued. I think that the new faux filter is supposed to replace this. I would have to try it, but this is phenomenal. I love it. And then last but not least, we have my favorite concealer of all time, the Hourglass Vanish Airbrush Concealer. This is the shade Flax. This is actually a shade darker than I usually buy. Usually I buy the shade Dune, but I decided to try Flax this time around. Look at that packaging, man. Hourglass does it so well with the packaging. This is, you know, great coverage, really hydrating, really smoothing, doesn't crack in the under eyes, doesn't really need to be set, in my opinion. Just a beautiful concealer, will give you enough luminosity. A wonderful, wonderful formula. I have yet to find something that is this good. So originally I bought Dune in a mini size. The mini is really generous. So if you want to try the shade for a little bit first, get the mini, and then you can graduate to the full size shade like I did. This is wonderful. I love it. Okay, so this is the totality of my strictly complexion products. Let's call it that way. So this is primers, foundations, concealers, and powders. As you can see, the vast majority of these products are in active use right now. I moved through them. The only things that are backups and I haven't used right now are the e.l.f. concealer that is still in the packaging, the Hourglass concealer that I haven't started, and the backup of the Marc Jacobs primer that I brought out for you guys to see. Other than that, everything else is in use. Everything else is really good or an acquired taste. Some of these are probably not my favorites, but I would say that overall, this is a selection of products that I really, really, really enjoy. I don't buy makeup to leave it sitting out, like the Marc Jacobs backup. It's seriously bothering me at this point, so I'm trying to finish up the one that I started so I can get to the backup and not have it just sitting there. But overall, this is everything that I have for complexion products. I hope you enjoyed this selection of a smaller makeup collection that is more consciously used, more intentionally used, where there's very few to no products left behind. Let me know, what do you want to see next? I'm thinking cheek products, but if you have other ideas, let me know in the comments below. If you enjoy this kind of video, give it a like. Consider subscribing to this channel. If you want to tell me more about the content that you want to see from a beauty lover that tries to not buy all the makeup all the time, let me know in the comments. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.